right, you guys, let's get started today. Welcome, everybody. This is the first ever virtual roundtable. We are calling it Winning Strategies Dojo Owners Edition. And so I thought it would be a great idea to bring two of our rock stars on to chat about their business, how they are crushing it, the different platforms that they're using, the software that they're using, and then any insight and advice, some really cool initiatives that they have inside of their business. And then, of course, I want to be able to take questions from you guys out there. I want this to feel interactive. So we cannot see you yet. Haas and Sonia and I cannot see you guys. You can see us, but you have your chat. I want you to drop questions as we're going in the chat. And then once Haas and Sonia and I have a conversation, if you want to come on, we would love to interact with you, and you can ask your questions, and we can just have a really open conversation and hopefully learn something today. So welcome, everybody. Haas, let's start with you. Introduce yourself. Tell us about your gym. What's it called? How'd you get started? What's your philosophy behind what you do? How long you been in business? All the things.
Okay, no, great. Thanks, Kaylee. My name is Haas Zahiri. I'm the owner of Dojos, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and kickboxing. The R is pronounced like an H. I have two separate businesses. So we have the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu gym that's been open since 2018. And then we just opened our kind of kickboxing and MMA studio in our old location in July of 2023. So yeah, been open, like the first business has been open since January. We just, in July of 2023, we just moved to a brand new facility for our BJJ Academy. We started off in kind of like a smaller kind of studio in a larger fitness gym. And it was kind of like an incubator, kind of proof of concept. And I quit my job May of 2019, and I went full time into the business. Then obviously, like everybody knows, COVID happened. So there was a whole set of challenges there that, I can talk about later in the interview. In terms of like our philosophy, we try to be really member and customer focused. I really love the kind of Kaizen philosophy of continuous improvement. I find that also for me, that keeps me very motivated, knowing that there's always initiatives and a vision for the future that's coming up ahead, and there's things to do. And it's not just, the kind of try, tested, and true things. We really try to build a vision for the future that's like fresh and innovative, and we're not afraid to take risks. And I think that's what's made us successful and what's kept our culture really positive and really fresh. And we've attracted a really kind of like a young energy into the club. For a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu club, I know it can be really challenging for certain types of people to train there. But we're lucky enough that we have a pretty mixed demographic, and we have a lot of women that train with us too, which I think is always a sign of a very healthy club. So yeah, that's kind of the general rundown. Yeah.
All right. And Sonia, how about you? Tell us a little bit about yourself. You have a couple of different businesses. So how'd you get started, your philosophy?
So I will try to keep this as short as possible because it's a long story. So let's start with the coaching. When I was 14, I started coaching Taekwondo classes. I trained for about 16 years in total. But I had my own kids' classes when I was 14, started coaching adults when I was 17. And then I went to the UW and got 2 degrees and a minor, and I was on track to go to graduate school. But my senior year, I started doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And a few years later, in 2012, my then boyfriend really wanted to open up a gym. And he being me and the naive, innocent person I was when I was in my early 20s, I supported his pipe dream, funded it, took a loan out against my car. And it turns out he actually had no idea what he was doing, along with the other partners we had. And so we were 6 people running this gym out of a 6,000 square foot space that was too big for us. And we went through a lot of trials and obstacles, and within 2 years, it was just me. And I was last one standing, or maybe 3 years. And I had a couple chances to close my doors. Like I was a 4-stripe blue belt running this gym on my own. I had no idea what I was doing. Imposter syndrome hit hard. And so in 2016, I went through some affiliation changes. For those of you that train jiu-jitsu, I've been under 6 affiliations. All of my belts are from different professors. But I stuck it out. I almost quit a couple times. I almost closed my doors, but it was the community that kept me going. Somewhere in there, I took over a little tiny gym that was falling apart in Burien, about 20 minutes away from me. And through COVID, we closed down, and then I reopened. I was insane. At about 4 months postpartum, I signed a lease to take over a space in Burien to reopen the gym. And initially, it was 2 locations for Combat Arts Academy. We had a brown belt at the time who was phenomenal. Chris Lum is amazing, but we had different visions. And so I realized I didn't want to run 2 locations. So I put him over there. We rebranded as Burien Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I manage the day-to-day, I manage the back end. They have an admin for day-to-day and the head coach. And it's an amazing community, amazing people. And then about a year ago, I signed a lease for the entire building for Combat Arts Academy, and took over 13,000 square feet. Wow. And so we added a little more space on for CAA, and then took about 4,500 square feet to open up a strength gym. So for Combat Arts Academy, we added a Muay Thai program a few years ago. And again, through COVID, we had lots of changes, lots of people left. And then I ended up at, I think, 5 months pregnant. I was teaching Muay Thai for the first time ever and had to lead a program. Our professor left when I was 9 months pregnant, literally the week before my due date. So then when I was back to coaching again, I also took over the adult program on top of the kids program. And I was really excited for that because I was able to really build a culture and community that we're at today. Because I'm really big on people first. And so oftentimes at many gyms, you walk in, join an all levels class, maybe spar on day 1. You're with the person that is brand new and spazzy as well, and you get smashed, you get frustrated. It's not for everybody to start that way. So we created a separate intro program. An intro is a true intro. It is designed for beginners. Like we talk about how to be a partner, how to not ego roll, why tapping is important, what submissions are, how to stay calm on bottom when you're escaping positions. Like why do we have to advance positions? We talk about the bigger picture, and it's like an 8-week curriculum. And when people move out of intro, now they have a good framework to being a good training partner. And in turn, they stick around for a long time. So by focusing on the community and culture, we've built a pretty solid business. Our attrition is, I think, 2 to 3% usually, which I think is pretty low for the type of gym we are.
Sure.
So last little bit, we had a little tiny strength and conditioning gym. It was very organic, a little 600 square foot space, and we moved it into the new space next door. Separate business, Delaware Strength, and it's been 2 months since we've been open, 2 to 3 weeks since we've been marketing and pushing it, and it's becoming a really great community. I'm pretty excited to talk about how Sun Planner Studio and engagements really helped to build that up, because we've seen huge success over the last 3 weeks. And for me, going through 11 years of owning Combat Arts Academy, I've learned what not to do. We face so many obstacles that starting a new business again, I have a really good grasp on how to build it correctly.
I love that. And
no,
you did not. Both of you have a couple of different things happening in your facility. So Sonia, you have your Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Muay Thai, and now your strength and conditioning. Haas, you have Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and also Muay Thai. Yes, that's
kickboxing and MMA.
Okay. Are those, Haas? Are those inside the same location? Are you running one?
They're 2 separate businesses.
2 separate.
Yeah.
So then you guys are both running your software. You have different. You have 2 different software platforms happening. Haas and Sonia, you have 3. That's a lot to manage, because having one is a lot to manage. So kudos to you both. I'm curious for you, Haas, and we can talk about this first. What are you running in your gym as far as your software? I know that you're utilizing the news and planner tools that we have, the automation tools. And did you implement that in one of your businesses before you implemented it in the other? And how has that kind of streamlined your operations? And then Sonia will talk to you about that as well.
Yeah, like when I first started Bajo, like I had no idea how to run a martial arts gym. You know, I was a new black belt. I was teaching at another gym, and I kind of saw the writing on the wall that, you know, that gym was going to go under. So I kind of panicked a little bit, and I was like, well, I can't go back to my old gym. I can't go back to, I can't stay here. So, you know, I had to quickly figure out, well, how am I going to open up a gym? And I remember I sat down with one of my first Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu instructors, and he was very gracious with me, and he gave me a lot of advice. And one of the things I asked him was, you know, should I invest in software? You know, because the gyms that I was at, like where I first started, not his gym, but after I left his gym, you know, they were just running everything. I don't even think they were using spreadsheets. So he was saying, yes, like invest in software. I use Zen Planner. You should invest in it. It's going to make your life so much easier, especially given that I was doing everything by myself. Mm-hmm. So I came from a kind of project management, a little bit of an IT background. So the second I got my hands on the Zen Planner software, I just started trying to learn as much about it as possible and try to build my processes around the software capabilities, as opposed to trying to find ways to like customize this and that, which made things really, really a lot easier for me. So, you know, for example, when I was working my full-time job, I had my website set up where people could book online. I didn't have to, because I couldn't answer phones or anything like that. Things are a lot different now, but I really tried to use the software to its fullest extent. And especially even during COVID, you know, now a lot of the things that we were kind of pressured or forced to do during COVID, we've actually kept. So, you know, in our business, everybody downloads the app. We just got the new branded app too for BJJ location. Everybody reserves their classes. So the instructors know how many people are going to be in the class. We have separate kind of free trial class slots that mirror the classes that free trials can come into. So the instructors know right through their app or through the iPad how many people are coming into the classes that are trials. So, you know, learning everything I learned with the BJJ business using Zen Planner, I was quickly able to set up a separate account for the kickboxing and MMA business. And that's, and then, you know, onboarding and training staff has been so much easier utilizing the software. Yeah.
Can I ask you, before we go to Sonia, are there things, because software can be, implementing software in your gym or your dojo or your yoga studio, it doesn't matter what it is, boutique style fitness, can be frustrating, because most of us are coming from a passion place, right? Like you were practicing and studying Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and Sonia, you started when you were 14 years old. Like same with me and inside of my gym as well. And so many of us don't come from that business background. And so it's like a learn on the job type thing. Same with software. Like I'm not a software engineer and I don't know how that back end works, but I think having that growth mindset of how do we take this and learn it so that we can be better is the most important thing that we can teach for anybody in this industry, because it's not going to be perfect. And so I like how you said that, Haas. You kind of built it around what the capabilities were. Are there specific things that like are game changers for you? Because there's a million different features inside of our software, but I know that for certain types of facilities, there's like one or two or three things that are just absolutely necessary for day-to-day operations. Does that exist for you, or is it just overall streamlining?
I mean, it's overall streamlining, but obviously like the automations, especially when I was just starting out, even now, but like I tried to automate as many things as possible. And we didn't have like the new kind of engagement tool that's more geared towards kind of nurturing prospects. But even with the automation capabilities in Zen Planner Studio, I was able to automate a lot of processes that would have taken up a lot of my time. So yeah, I mean, a lot of us come from a place where we're passionate about the martial arts, but you also want to be able to provide great member services, right? And you also want to be able to have some free time. What I've realized too, and like I love teaching, I love training, but like, and I'll be honest about it, it's very little about running a martial arts gym is focused on teaching or how well you do at tournaments or anything like that, right? It's about working. If you want to be successful, it's about working on the business just as much, or if not even more, than working in the business. And I think having good software and having good processes and being able to train your staff on them is critical for you to make sure that you're providing good customer service, and for you to just to stay sane.
Yeah.
If you had to do a lot of the everything manually without software, you could do it, but I don't know how something's got to give. Either you got to give time, or you got to let things fall by the wayside.
Yeah.
Can I actually add a detail to that thought?
Yes.
So jumping on that, because I have a lot of gym owner friends, I've talked to a lot of people. I will work with them on some business things here and there. And you see the people that I love what I do, and I can't begin to ask for money. Like, I don't want to take this away from other people. I'm trying to make a livelihood, but at the same time, like, I love what I do. I can't build a good business because that takes away from the art. And then you have the flip side where there are gyms that are like business. Oh, you're late. Great. Late fee now. Or, hey, you owe me money. Like, they're so business focused, they forget about the people. And I think from what I'm hearing from Haas and the way that I run my business, it's a happy medium where you have a great program, but you spend that time to develop a great business that works together, because there's a way to do business correctly. And that takes a lot of time and energy to develop. And if you don't focus on that happy medium, then it's hard to be successful in a way where you feel happy about it. Because I know people who had the worst mats in the world. I broke my pinky toe on one, but the owner was driving a brand new Mercedes. Right? So it's reinvesting back in the facility. And then I know people who they're just like the rundown mats. They work full-time jobs. They have kids. They can't make ends meet. They're paying rent out of pocket for their business because, again, they're charging $50 a month.
Right.
And so you have to find the right price point. You have to be able to ask for the money. And again, when you automate things and create systems and processes and do everything correctly, then it becomes easy. Yes. And the hard part is getting to that point.
Yeah. And you do it you've got 3 different Zen Planner platforms that you're running, or businesses that you're running. So 3 separate. How is that working for you? What is working for you? And same thing, same questions I asked Haas, what are the things that are really, really important for your business operations? And also, have you seen a difference? Has it changed your revenue? Because like you said, you cannot do what you love unless there's revenue, right? Like, it is ultimately at the end of the day still a business, and that's part of it. So talk to me about that.
Absolutely. We'll start with the easy one, which is Birion. I am hands off, just back end administrative. I am owner. I don't do anything day to day. And so it's amazing to be able to log into the studio to be able to see, here's the money processing first, here's what, because again, knowing numbers, the gym owners who don't do as well, they don't know what their numbers are, right? I know what comes from the adult program, the kids program, and retail. Hey, we had 3 cancels this month. Okay, why? Because I have my staff take notes. And so I can log in and look at the big picture and not have to actually be physically at the studio. And so that business is breaking even. It's doing great. I'm pretty happy with it because it was a small little startup. It's a small little facility, and the community is great. The people are great, and everything's going well. With Combat Arts Academy, so I use Studio and Engagement. We also use Discord to actually manage our social, which is phenomenal. And the process there is different than the strength gym. So for Deller's Strength, we have people book their own no sweat intro, so the consultation. For CAA, we do free trial classes. And we don't have that automated because we have a certain amount of trial slots per hour, but we have multiple programs. So back when we had strength and conditioning within CAA, we had 3 different programs running at one time. And so if our trial slots were at 3 or 4 people at capacity, it could be 3 in jiu-jitsu or 3 in Muay Thai. And so if people were able to book their own trials, they'd be overbooking our ability to handle the closes. And so my staff couldn't keep up with that. And so I think for the CAA side, it's really nice to be able to to have our staff book, because we get to interact and really explain the programs. Because when somebody contacts us and says, hey, I want to fight UFC. And I'm sure everybody on here has gotten that at some point, like, I want to fight UFC. We can talk to them and be like, hey, great. You know what? Muay Thai would be a great starting point because it's striking, but the more complex art is grappling. If you want to fight MMA, you really want to be able to grapple well, because if you get knocked to the ground, what do you do? And so we can talk to them that way and then funnel them into the program that's correct for them. For the strength gym, it's been, we've been operating out of there for 2 months. We've been pushing and marketing for about 2 to 3 weeks. And I set up so for Combat Arts Academy, actually not pause. We're gonna come back to that in a second, because so my original experience with software was MindBody. Not my favorite. We switched to Zen Planner in 2017. And then there's a short little bit last February where I really needed a CRM. I was like, I want to text members. I want automations. Zen Planner doesn't have that. It's not what I want. And so I switched to PushPress for a short bit. And they have the same Go High Level platform that Zen Planner now uses. And the problem I had, there's a lot of back-end issues with their main studio program. And so the second that Zen Planner announced, hey, by the way, we also have Go High Level, I jumped ship back to Zen Planner. So I've now set up 4 Go High Level platforms. And that was a great decision. So PushPress originally created our website. Zen Planner kind of took that template. I did pay to have that developed for Combat Arts Academy. For the strength gym, I was like, you know what? I'll do it myself. And I was able to use the sites to create the website. And honestly, I'm pretty happy with how it turned out, because for that gym, we have our prospective members book their own no sweat intro, which is a 30-minute consultation. We talk about goals, concerns, and we end up creating a plan that works for them, which we use an on-ramp. It's a 4-week program before they do group classes. And I paid for one Instagram ad 2 weeks ago, and I've had 8 total no sweat intros scheduled. I've done 5 of them, and 4 of them have converted to members with little effort. And I was in class this morning at 7 a.m. and my heart was so full. We had 10 people in class. We had 4 of our new people in that class, and it was just really cool to see. And so by being able to have, so what happens with the automations, because Greg asked what kind of processes we're able to automate. John Doe over there clicks on the website, they book their intro, they can schedule, and that schedule links with my Google Calendar, because if I don't use that, I cannot keep my head on straight. And if I block off like work time, it'll mark me as busy. And so when somebody books a no sweat intro, it only opens up my free time. So my coaching's blocked off, my whatever billion hours of things is blocked off. They get a confirmation text, and they get the confirmation email, and we can set up the automation to be whatever we want it to be. It can wait a day, send a reminder. You can send the reminder an hour before the appointment. What's drastically improved is our show rate. Before we started using automations, our show rate was 60 to 80%, depending upon. At this point, and I'm making up numbers, but we're probably at about 90%. And with the 10%, most of them will text us to reschedule, because they're like, oh crap, I'm still at work. I'm so sorry. Can I come in next week?
Yeah.
And it's just, and the texting the texting, oh my gosh, that's really what I wanted. Like, nobody's email anymore. Nobody wants phone calls. Nobody wants voicemails. So being able to text, like, hey, do you have time for a quick call? We've been able to get a hold of prospects so much more frequently, and that conversion rate is super awesome.
Yeah.
So it's honestly been like a really fantastic process to be able to get more people in the door and into our community.
I love that. I hear the SMS, like the two-way text, the email automation is across the board one of the features that is necessary, especially with the appointment setting. It's amazing to watch it happen in real time. Like when you start to get automated emails into your own, like your own alert as the owner or a coach, like, oh, look, I have an appointment scheduled for next Tuesday with Joe Smith. It's a very cool feature. And like you said, you can link your calendars. And there's so many more automations too, Greg, but even beyond that, just workflow automations. When they are a prospect, they're entered into a specific workflow. When they become a member, they're entered into a different workflow. So there's a lot to it, but you can automate pretty much anything that you want. And then other things that you want to be more hands-on, you can do that. Haas, I want to talk to you about some of your initiatives. You have run really successful campaigns in the past. We have talked separately about Black Friday specials that you do. Can you talk about that a little bit, or as much as you want, and how you utilize your software or social or email? How do you communicate your campaigns with your customers?
Well, I think communication is one of the most important things about, running a gym, not only just for member retention, but also just for the overall culture of the community, and to make sure, certain events or initiatives will be successful. So, aside from, the standard stuff, like, putting it on social media, we also send out, monthly newsletters. We'll utilize certain campaigns within the engagement tool. With respect to like Black Friday, we also just let people know that we have, this sale, and it happens once a year. You're going to get the best deal on it. It always happens at the same time. And, we put together, just like a nice slick graphic that lets people know how much savings they're going to get if they sign up for, whatever paid in full package. And then, like I said, yeah, we send that out in like in a separate email blast. But then we also now we're able to use the kind of two-way text feature to also text people and let them know that this sale is coming. And we get a healthy mix. A lot of people that sign up for the sale are existing members, but it's just for paid in full membership, so it doesn't really affect our kind of like month-to-month memberships at all.
Yeah.
And we also get a bunch of people that come into the system that are brand new. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's a combination of like utilizing the software, but it's also just being consistent with it, having the graphics that let people know what they're actually saving, and letting people know that this is something that only happens once a year. It's exclusive. So I think that's been and we're getting better at it year over year. Yeah.
Consistency is for sure the key to that. Like newsletters can tend to ebb and flow. Like people will get busy because either they're on the floor coaching all the time, or they get caught up in other things inside of their business. And so having those scheduled and automated, and you have templates in there that allow you to like change them quickly, makes it easier for sure. How about you, Sonia? Do you have cool things coming up this summer? Any new programs? What are y'all doing?
We are actually really getting into summer camps right now. And so within the sites for Zen Planner for Combat Arts Academy, I created a splash page. We've had a few leads already, because as a business, I love my kids. I can't be on my kids all summer. I have a couple of my teens who went off to college that are back, and they're fantastic coaches that are running camp for me. And as a business, like summer camps and kids, they're a money maker. So if you want the revenue, it comes from summer camp. And again, a lot of people tend to undercharge. If you do research in your area, like what gymnastics camps and soccer camps and what they're charging, you'll see what that comparable price point is, because what you're doing, it's a niche specialty. Like you're doing something that you're offering something that took you a long time to become an expert at.
Yeah.
And so I'm excited for our summer camp because it's a movement-based summer camp. We ban screens except for Movie Friday. There's a park nearby. They get an hour of Muay Thai a day. They get an hour of obstacle course building, jiu-jitsu, and some book time and library time. And then the kids that are enrolled in our gym, they can stay for classes. We don't really offer specials. Once a year, maybe twice a year, I would do like a 12-month paid in full special, where if you pay for 12 months, you might get 1 or 2 months free, or a free private lesson, or X amount in gear credit, because we'll do like special gis every so often, or a special like t-shirt order. And so if you prepay for 12 months, you get $200 for gear credit. If you prepay for 6 months, you get $100. Yeah. And then, yeah, the other thing we do too is we do a family discount. And it's, the first one's full price, second one's 10% off, third one is half off, and then fourth and on are free. I might change that a little bit in the future coming up, but it's been fantastic because the entire family ends up training.
Yeah.
And when the entire family's on the mats, they don't leave. Because if you think about it, 1 month at your gym is cheaper than going to like a baseball game or some concert or some event.
Also driving everywhere.
Yeah. Parents that show their kids, oh my gosh, I have so much like respect for that, because you got 3 kids, you drop off 1 kid here, go drop off kid number 2, number 3, come pick up number 1, go back for 2, go back for 3. Like, you don't have time for yourself.
Yeah.
And so the other thing that, and this isn't a special, but one thing we're really big on is being family friendly. Recently we did have to institute pick up and drop off policy. Like if you drop them off more than 15 minutes early, I'm charging you. If you leave them more than 10 minutes late, I'm charging you. Because parents were taking advantage of that. I love my kids, but it was a bit much. Yeah. We have a separate walled-off kids area where kids can go play while parents train. And so it's been really nice getting the parents onto the mats too. My goal is to find ways to make it more like family accessible. And so we actually added an adult class simultaneous with our kids class, because we have mat space available. And really they're learning with the kids. It's just when it's time to like work on technique, we'll split into like older kids and adults and then smaller kids. And it's been great because we'll have like 2 to 6 adults on the mats that otherwise train 2 hours a week.
Yeah.
But because their kids are training like 4 to 5 days a week, sometimes they get 6 to 10 hours of training in a week because of that addition.
Yeah. So. I like the family plans. Haas, you do family plans as well, don't you?
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
Do you find that that's a big chunk?
We just started the family plans, which I think for me was a little bit of a mistake in terms of not starting it earlier. So now it's like one of our best deals. So, you essentially get the 4th family member. It's not free, but we just switched to bi-weekly payments. So you get the 4th family member for like $50 bi-weekly, which compared to our standard unlimited plans it works out to be a free membership. Yeah. And that's the other kind of big learning for me, because Kelsey and I don't have kids, but I've quickly realized for some of our best members are family members. One family, we have like 8 family members in our academy, and they're volunteering, they're helping out with programs, and they just went on vacation to Vietnam, and they told us like, oh, this is going to be the first time since COVID that we've been away from you that's like this long. Wow. So yeah, I don't know why it took me so long to realize that the power and the positivity of having families, being part of your community and catering to families. So yeah, we've just started kind of like revamping some things with respect to our website, and even eventually some of our automations to kind of cater to more families.
I like that a lot. What you guys do is very different than just like a typical HIIT style facility or fitness gym. Of course there's like belt tracking and processes. And I feel like most people are not going to venture into something like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu unless they have this long-term goal, right? Of really learning and there's an art to it. I mean, correct me, it's not so much like I'm going to go get a great workout in and I don't really care about the belt, because I think most people probably do care about that. And that takes time, like a tremendous amount of time. So instilling that inside of the family unit, then you're holding on to them for a long time. You end up having a relationship for a really long time. I want to answer Matthew's question, or I want Sonia to. He asked about the free trial calendar. Is it part of Zen Planner, or do you use a separate plugin?
Definitely Zen Planner. There's two ways to do it. So if you don't have engagement, which I absolutely recommend because it's a freaking game changer, like we're here for winning strategies, right? Like engagement has made my life so much easier. Like I don't know how else I'd manage 3 businesses right now with the amount on my plate. But if you don't have engagement, we used to use Studio. You can have them book on their own through Studio. We used to have our staff do all the booking that way, and they can get confirmation emails. We use engagement right now. So with an engagement, you can create a calendar, and that calendar can be built into your website. So what it'll do, you'll have a, what should we call it? Like a form that will link to Studio. So Kelly's interested in training at my gym. She'll enter her information in. It'll push to the Studio, which will also push their information to engagement. So it syncs. And then it'll link to the engagement calendar. And by using engagement, then it'll create the then they'll enter into the workflows. So Kelly opted in. She booked her free trial class. She'll get the confirmation text. And then engagement is the CRM. It's the backend platform that does all the automations, texting, emails, like pretty much the full like customer.
So basically we've got our member management side Studio, and when Sonia refers to engagement, we've got marketing automation, CRM, and everything else. So you don't have to use 2 different types of software, 2 different platforms. Now it's all integrated into one, basically.
And then what I'm actually excited for, because I've been working a lot with Josh on the back end setup stuff. He's phenomenal.
Yes, he is.
But he just let me know that the Studio calendar stuff will be syncing with engagement calendar in May, hopefully. So that I'm super stoked for, because I wanted that 2-way, and that's like a great feature.
Yeah.
The way it's set up was great. Can I actually address the family thing that Haas was talking about?
Absolutely.
So the thing for me too, like with families, and Haas, I don't know if you've experienced this, like some of the parents become the best coaches. I had a minis class, a 3-year-old, and the dad could not keep his mouth shut. And I was like, you know what? Either you do burpees, because I have a rule. I'm like, there's a parent wall. If you talk to your kid during class, you get burpees. And the amazing thing for the kid is they get to see their parents held accountable. So it's a 2-way thing. Like they watch their parents work and the parents watch them work, and it builds a great bond. But this parent was like, okay, fine. He bought a gi. He started helping with my minis class, started helping with his older kids class. And 2 years later, he got his blue belt. But he was like probably 70% in kids classes and 30% in adult classes. And I think it's really cool when you get the family involved that way, because once it becomes a part of their life, like everybody who's moved away from us in the last few months, they're like, but we haven't been able to find another community like yours. Like when you build that community, people will stay. Like you have to really like make it people focused. And I think with Zen Planner and like being able to communicate with everybody as possible, saying like clear communication, and clear and consistent, like that's what builds a good business and back end, because now your customers, like they're bought in and you actually care about them. So your intention first and foremost, people, secondary is business.
Yeah.
And when they can feel that, like they feel loved, heard, they will stay. And it's easier to keep a member than to get new ones.
Absolutely. I was just going to say that. And I feel like that's why I think we refer to these new features as engagement features. There's certainly a mindset when you're first opening your doors and like this rat race, right, of getting new people in. You want to be able to pay your bills. You want to break even, maybe give yourself a paycheck eventually, all of those things. There's usually a mindset of new leads, like we need new leads coming in. And oftentimes what is forgotten is the experience of your current community. And so really focusing on that experience over a long period of time, like what are the touch points that we are able to give to our members, 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. The reporting aspect of Zen Planner allows you to be able to track that and to look at when people might be falling off, what's happening and why. And so as you get deeper into these tools and you get better at it, you can really start making important decisions about your business to hopefully shift or change that trajectory.
So on that note, actually, I had a Muay Thai coach where we kind of came to odds because I took over one of the intro classes. And after a couple of months, I was like, you know what, here are the changes I want to make in how the classes are running. And we kind of butted heads because he built his curriculum, and while it was great, it wasn't what we needed for beginners. Mm-hmm. And looking at the data, because we have 3 coaches coaching intro, the other coach in my classes, we had probably an 80 to 90% conversion on trials. His had 50%. Wow. And so when you can look at the numbers that way, like over the course of 6 months, or not 6, sorry, the 4 months that I was coaching the class, over the course of 4 months, looking at that data, I can see, okay, cool. We're doing great at closing. His isn't. Why is that?
Right.
And it's because it was too fast paced. Like people couldn't keep up holding and hitting pads. So for intro, I actually took pad holding away because teaching how to hold pads and hit at the same time is overwhelming. Yeah. Especially for awkward turtle beginners that are there because they want to learn self-defense and build some confidence. When they feel like they can't keep up, they're not going to stay. Like eventually they will quit because they feel embarrassed, mortified, whatever it is, insecure. And so by being able to look at the data that comes from tracking your numbers, I was able to determine that coach wasn't working and he didn't feel like adapting to my style. And so it just didn't work out. And the feedback I've gotten in the last 2 weeks, like people are really happy with the class pacing. Because again, all the beginners are able to hang and learn and keep up and actually see some progress. Yeah,
getting that member feedback is so important in your day-to-day decision making. So it's we could probably talk for another hour. I want to ask you both, like, any future plans, future goals. You've answered all of my questions and more, and also just open up to everyone out there for any more questions. They were engaging while we were chatting. So Haas, what do you got in the pipeline? You have future visions? Are we opening like a whole slew in Canada?
I'd like to get a bigger space and move out of our current location for our kickboxing studio. It's just like a 1,200 square foot studio within a larger gym, which does have some advantages because I don't have to worry about washrooms or anything like that. But the community there is growing, so I am actively looking at other spaces. But just, before I get into all of that, I really want to make sure I have like processes and systems in place. We just hired a membership coordinator that makes all the calls for new prospects that come in, that comes into our system and books the trials. As well as we're setting up some additional processes to follow up with like existing members regularly. I have a program director who's my partner, who's awesome, who's constantly putting on programs to keep the community engaged. Because like you said, it's much easier to keep people than attracting new people. So, as much as like I'm very process driven and I'm very like put systems in place, but if you don't have the right type of culture and you're not putting on regular events, like, I think the adage is like culture eats process for breakfast. So before we get into any of those other expansion plans or everything, I really want to make sure that not only we have solid processes, but we also are putting on, regular events and really keeping the vibe and the culture very strong and positive.
Cool. How about you, Sonia?
In terms of business, at least, Combat Arts Academy is in a great place right now. I have one of my staff, Sydney. She is phenomenal. She's become my right-hand person because the answer to the question, like, what do you need? I need more versions of me. And she's becoming a second version of me. And so she'll hopefully by May 1st be moving into a management position where she does all the things I do for that gym. And we're in the process of hiring maybe up to 2 more staff for front desk for Combat Arts Academy. And then for the strength side, hopefully somewhere in May, we also have 1 staff on board because we are at the point revenue-wise where we can do that. So I can not do 30 coaching hours a week and training and toddler and everything. And because the goal for all of the businesses is to be self-sustaining. Because for me, I would love to be able to coach and train and leave it at that. So when I can get to that point of being able to like get all of those systems in place, as Haas was saying, like that's I think the dream right there is to have all of it in place, have everything automated, have staff on board that care as much as you do. And so I think within this year, CA should be there. I think Dollar Strength should be self-sustaining by next year is my goal. Because if I can, I have a space to put in a coffee shop in that building, and
you don't have to leave
the room. You know, grab a coffee for class, go grab like a beer after. So that's like my long-term plan for that building is to add the coffee shop in there. So you have the gym for weightlifting, you have the martial arts, and you have the coffee shop where parents can, you know, grab a drink while their kids are training, grab a snack.
You guys are crushing it, and I am so grateful that you took the hour to chat with me today because I know that you are busy. You're both so busy. So Haas, what is your website and your social, like give yourself a shout out here so that we know.
It's byho.ca, and on Instagram it's byho.yeg, and Facebook is byhobjj.
Got it. And what about you, Sonia?
Website is caaseattle.com. And then Instagram is Combat Arts Academy. My personal is just my first name, last name. So
I have enjoyed every second of this, and I hope that we can do a follow-up. I would love to actually do a follow-up. You guys have been amazing. We will be sending out a recording today. So everybody on will get a recording, and also anybody who registered who was not able to make it, they will receive a recording. And you guys are rock stars. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Happy Friday, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly.
Bye.